Morning. This is me, and of course, what I do, I don't do any of the work. All my team do the work, and I get the glory, which is magic. And I recognise those Paul's in the audience somewhere, or closing his ears at the moment. And there are other people from the AERU in the audience as well, so welcome to them. So, I'm director of the AERU, 60 years old this year, so keep your eye out for the parties, and 20 years I've been director. Dedicated research team looking at leadership in sustainable well-being. But we were set up in 1962 by Cabinet Committee because the UK was thinking of going into Europe. Don't tell anybody that the UK's gone out. We do a wide range of research. The book on the left there, down at Scorpio Books, there's a copy to have a look at and you can download free. Long-term agricultural trade modelling for the OECD, IPCC reports, and winning awards. So lots of action going on in the unit. But today, well, New Zealand was built its wealth or prosperity out of exporting three commodities pretty much into the United Kingdom. But, as we say, the UK went into the EU, we lost that market, and New Zealand had to find other routes to do it. And also the world's moved on a lot. And so currently there are a lot of initiatives out there looking at what else can we do with our products. And we've got Pure Advantage Tihono, based in Christchurch, most agribusinesses. We've got Fit for a Better World that Kylie mentioned and Jenny's going to talk about after me, and Hiwakanoa. And so my vision for the unit and for the country is that nothing is low cost from New Zealand. Nothing leaves New Zealand at a commodity price. I'm an academic, I can be mad, but, you know, we can have a vision. And that what we do in New Zealand should be high value, high social, cultural, environmental, and economic value. And at the moment, we've done very well out of commodities, and set in position on the Monetary Policy Committee. You know, it's been agriculture has sort of saved us through the pandemic, with the commodity prices, with our exports holding up. And so commodities might look quite good at the moment. But as Ian Proudfoot said, that can't be the future. And there are other reasons for that now, because not only are we lose market power, but also there's a lot of push and pressures on our amazing primary sector at the moment, with environmental regulations and other things coming in. So it's trying to get more of that win-win whilst they meet the demands for the freshwater standards or for the carbon reduction. So how do we do that? We go from supply chains to value chains. As I've said, the food and fibre sector is facing a lot of challenges, but we're looking at those opportunities to celebrate the sector and ensure it's fairly rewarded. All our produce should be high value. And I really welcome this report, the Well New Zealand summary. Leanne Yeager will be talking to that after lunch. Really brilliant report, bringing together the well-beings and also the high market value, how we lever that value in market to meet those well-beings. So how do we capture this premium value? Well, we want to switch from a supply chain, which is transactional, commodities, into a value chain. And at the value chain, the value starts at the consumer. We have to consider what the consumer values and how we can deliver that value, if it suits what we want to do, back to the producer. So making sure those returns in market come back fairly down the chain to producers. And so we want to move from this sort of commodity-based mindset down to the Zespri one, where we're selling premium products in market for $5.60 for a couple of kiwi fruit. So getting into that value chain space. Okay, we've led a couple of successful programs looking at how we can switch supply chains to value chains. And the first one of those was looking at successful value chains and what were the characteristics of those that might help this switch into from a supply chain to a value chain. And the second project, which is coming to the end at the moment, is working with existing or new chains to turn them into value chains. We acknowledge John Reid at the Ngāi Research Centre and Rena and Sylvia at Scion who contributed to this work. And we've pulled that work together into the value chain compass. We're going to concentrate on the consumer side of this. What do consumers value and how does that resonate? And you've got the demand on the top, supply on the bottom for obviously connecting the consumers, governance on the right, and then management. But what's really important in this value chain is the collective values up and down the value chain, which is what we found, that they share the same core values. Could it be about the environment? Could it be about social conditions or cultural attributes? And the other interesting thing about the value chain is that there's a champion or a leader in it. And that champion or leader doesn't necessarily have to have the power. So in the old days, we'd say, oh, the supermarkets have got the power and we can't do anything and they take all the profits. But if you've got a good champion in that chain, they will bring the supermarkets along so that they will put that product in at a high value price. And Zespri, again, is one of the exemplars of doing that. So, what do consumers want? So, New Zealand has always been very good at producing quality food and meeting market specifications for taste and other specifications. But also, New Zealand does have a number of credence attributes that consumers value. And these are attributes of food that we can't see or touch, but through good market assurance schemes, that the consumers know they are there. And these can include things like animal welfare, environmental standards, social responsibility, cultural authenticity, organic, health benefits, country of origin. And so we've done a lot of research into this over the years, looking at different markets, different products, to see what are the kind of things that people will be willing to pay for. And I'm just giving you a teaser of a few examples of these. So kiwi fruit in Japan. Here we've got 3 consumer segments. The biggest one is the light blue line. And we've got a number of attributes down on the left-hand side, these credence attributes. And we can see that the biggest consumer group is consumer group 1, 62%. And they're the ones that really value carbon neutral. So kiwi fruit produced under carbon neutral ones. So there you go. You market your products in that space to that consumer group, and also biodiversity enhancement. They also like the increased fibre, whereas consumer group 2 is based more around taste. And so, you know, it's a different marketing or a different positioning for that consumer group. And consumer group 3, they're willing to pay less across most of those attributes as well. So, lamb consumers in the UK. Good traditional market. What we did here was that we went in and surveyed in 2019, and then whoops, a pandemic hit. And we wanted to survey again to see, did that affect how consumers behaved? And I was sort of expecting that consumers would be a lot more price sensitive, because clearly, you know, the pandemic, we were all worried that the economy was going to shrink. And so we weren't sure what these results would do. So in 2019, those are the orange bars, and we're looking here about country of origin. And in 2020, you've got the blue bar. So you can see in the willingness to pay for home-produced food went up, and we're not really surprised about that. So the English lamb, the willingness to pay went up quite a bit. But what was interesting was that it also went up for New Zealand lamb and also lamb produced on Maori farms. So this is the start of a journey that we're having with John Reed and others, that looking at how do we interpret Maori cultural attributes and how do they resonate in market. Then we looked at the attributes for the credence attributes, and what surprised me by this one, that the willingness to pay for credence attributes went up during the pandemic. And the explanation for this is that people wanted more natural food, or wanted food that was good for the environment, because obviously the rest of the environment wasn't too good. So no antibiotics went up, no growth hormones, animal welfare went a lot, organic, pasture-raised, water quality protection, relatively low for biodiversity protection and carbon neutral, but no GM feed went up an awful lot. And again, that reflects this a perception that GM might be non-natural. Wine. We all like a bit of wine. Again, the first slide shows country of origin, and I guess the point I want to make about this is that we've got three consumer groups here: baby boomers, me, Gen X, and millennials, you. And everybody's younger when it gets to my age. And you can see the baby boomers were willing to pay from country of origin. And, USA most, France and New Zealand, quite good. This was Sauvignon Blanc. So, whereas when we go to the attributes, the credence attributes, the millennials like you did not want to pay as much for country of origin, but it was more important to you that we were actually meeting the credence attributes. So the country of origin which we've sort of hidden behind a little bit in the past, as a sort of metric for lots of attributes bundled together that are good, maybe in the younger generation, they need to see the evidence as well. So highest ones there, organic grapes, but pest and diseases, social responsibility, byproducts management, water management, and biodiversity management. So it's just giving a teaser of the kind of things that consumers want, and that where we can position ourselves in markets to capture that premium and then bring it back through the value chain project. Another one that I often get told if do this is that basically we're an ingredients provider, and so we have no say. And again, I go back to the value chain project. Even if you're an ingredients provider, you can provide leadership, so everybody wants your ingredient, and they want to pay a premium for it. But there are other ways of connecting with global consumers, and this is a bit of an old slide now, but used to get the wow factor. It's the train in South Korea, at Seoul, and they're getting on and off the subway. Here's a virtual supermarket. They're clicking on with the barcode, and the stuff's delivered, in half an hour or whatever. And it's remembering that a lot of Asian cities, they're vertical cities, they don't have the infrastructure, they don't drive cars, they don't go to supermarkets like we do, and that a lot of the shopping is online. Now, of course, with the pandemic, we've all got used to that. And so, although we haven't got many online virtual supermarkets in New Zealand, we're quite used to more and more shopping online. So there's another route that we could get into market. And we do an annual surveys. Here's some of the results of these, just showing how many people use a mobile app to find out more about food and beverage products, and then how much do they use it to actually purchase them. And China, way above Japan and the UK, and in fact, if we had India and Indonesia here, they're above them too. But it has gone up a little bit. Interestingly, mixed in China, pre and post-pandemic, but in the UK, certainly climbed since the pandemic in particular. So other ways of getting there to market. So, deep breath. Further information, we've got a data portal on our website that you can go and look at the data I've shown you, and you can drill it by consumer type, by commodity, by market, by clicking on the Consumer Insights data portal. So, nothing from New Zealand should be low cost. Targeting consumers share our values, we get the win-wins. So we've got this push coming on the sector with environmental regulations, and so we have to do better in market to make sure that product gets its due value and that the sector can thrive. And so we create value chains that communicate our amazing stories back to the consumers and then back to the producers. And it'll vary by country and commodity. Thank you.